Hello, Internet. How are you today? Another day, another interview in English, please. I want my upload. And today I am accompanied with another special guest called the Shade Master. Thanks again for accepting the invite. Although I knew that you were in need of some light. I think we can say that way. But it's my pleasure to help a fellow creator. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Hope you're doing all right yourself.
That's okay. I'm a bit tired, but it's a nice problem to have things to do and stuff happening. I prefer that to the silent death.
And yeah, it's good to be busy, as you know. I have been very busy. Unfortunately, not on the topic that we will be discussing, but there has been a lot of work done on this project and on this game, and I'm very happy to have fellow friends on the internet willing to give it the light of day.
My pleasure. For me, it's entirely normal. Just before we start the interview, I want to shield myself a little bit. So, some of you may know that in December I will have a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign going. This is about my books, so Demon Realms, the translation in English, and it will be an art book like a bestiary with all the monster and creature. There is some video about this project on my channel, so have a look. And if you are interested, the thing you see and the thing I spoke about interest you, you can go to the Kickstarter page and being notified of the launch of the campaign and any information that will arise. So, outside of that, coming back to you, my friend, I will chill a bit for you as well because I know that your channel has been deleted, correct?
Yeah, we've been the victims of cancel culture, and it's not been fun. It's been my YouTube channel has been deleted. I
Yeah.
was formerly the Carnal Conservative, and it has and that had all of my videos on it, all of the role play content,
You did
politics,
a
culture.
campaign, I think, with Ardent, or you still have one in course, or?
Yeah, the campaign is being continued
Okay, okay,
on the new channel,
yeah. The
the
one I
Shades of
link
Dominion
in the
channel.
chat for you people.
Yes, the but we are still doing the campaign. It's going strong. We've had a pause
Mm.
because life happened.
Yeah,
Because I'm also the Shades of Dominion is a passion project. I am a writer, but I'm also a father who is recently unemployed. Not for any political reason, not for anything shady of that nature. It's just the current state of the economy caused the automation machinery that I work on to have their service contract canceled,
mm.
which means that I no longer had a machine to maintain, and couldn't find another place within the company. So that means I am now back into the workforce. I'm also going to school to learn how to code. So combining all these things into being a writer as well as your niche automatically puts you into the video games role play kind of
Yeah.
skill set. Most of my coding was making games in Python. So I'm currently also learning the ropes in the Unity system, uh, where I'm also going through the RPG tutorials and learning how to put in not just images, but use their mechanics to flush out um, how to make a RPG video game. So the Shades of Dominion is going to have several iterations. It's going to be a larger, much larger franchise
Mm.
in the future. So that is what we're doing now. We're having the role play. I've also started. If you go to the channel, you'll see a few playlists where
Mm.
um, you will learn that the Shades of Dominion was inspired by a very popular card game.
We will go
Most
to
of us have
talk
heard.
about it in the question.
Yes, and it's and there are playlists that use that converts the cards from this card game into spell templates for the game, so you can introduce these spell templates into your game. Your character can use them, and so you'll be able to bring these cards to the table, and you will be able to know how to uh, properly integrate them. So that's part of the fun of the game.
Well, as I heard and as I knew beforehand, also, you you have much to tell. And so, speaking about the famous card game that inspire you and everything, I think this will be the first question I will ask you is, uh, the card game you spoke about was indeed Magic the Gathering. So, how much have you been inspired by Magic the Gathering, and was it not too hard to try to not make just a basic copy paste of the game system of Magic?
Well, that's a loaded question because there have been a lot of attempts to bring Magic the Gathering, a card game, into a roleplay system, and all of them suck. Until this iteration, this is nearly every single previous attempt has been atrocious. And the reason is because they weren't willing to divorce themselves from the card game, ironically. And the what made Shades of Dominion become what it is when a good friend of mine, a linguist, I actually did a live stream with him about 3 weeks ago, where we discussed the point in which a Magic the Gathering roleplay game actually became its own thing. And it was because of, well, ironically enough, language. He told me, mana is shit. It's overplayed. Don't use the word mana. And I took this under consideration. I said to myself, well, what should it be? And that's why we came up with the shade. And to make sense of this, you have to understand the difficulty of turning a card game where you play lands to represent your power source.
Hmm.
And that was my problem, is how do I turn that mechanic into a role play scenario where you're able to siphon power from the land and turn it into a role play mechanic and accurately represent it. And
And
so
this is
that's where
also, if I just, sorry if I can cut you a bit, this is also one of the maybe the unique and problem and imperfection of the Magic the Gathering game is the land mechanic. I've heard many people explain me how this is the maybe the only barrier to fully enjoy the game.
I I'm kind of I'm agnostic on that, to be honest.
Agnostic.
In all honesty, I do not think it was a bad idea to have it.
No, not
It
bad, but
essentially,
it's a frustrating mechanic sometimes.
yes, because what you have is a resource economy, basically telling you on one turn you're going to be limited to this, on the second turn you'll be limited to this. However, you will not necessarily have all those resources available
Yeah.
and that potential. So there is that kind of wishy-washy, um, ambiguous tension to it. But we solved that in Shades.
Mm. This is
And
also one of the main explanation and main how to say that main change that differ from Magic the Gathering on the new series of card games. For example, Hearthstone. Every turn you gain one resources and that's it.
I'm not sure I agree with that either. Like, to me,
No.
that's a
I don't say it's a nice idea. I say this is how they try to fix the problem with the land mechanic.
they also did the same thing in the Magic the Gathering Planeswalker Xbox game.
I didn't
It,
play
it,
that.
it you shouldn't. I don't recommend. Um, but this is the point in which the Shades of Dominion became itself.
Mm.
when we decided to go away with mana and turn to the Shade. And that's when the lore became its own thing, when it went from Magic the Gathering to its own intellectual property, was divorcing ourselves from mana and embracing the Shade.
Mm.
And the story behind the Shades of Dominion is everything went to hell because Magic existed.
Yeah.
And because Magic existed, it was abused, it was manipulated, it created timelines, and even those timelines became hellish. And uh, basically, if you're into Magic the Gathering, the storyline of Shades of Dominion is Nicol Bolas wins, and Magic itself as a force in the multiverse says, fuck you, I'm turning off.
I still want to
And
see a duel between Nicol Bolas and Yogg-Saron.
and who?
Yogg-Saron, I don't remember the name. The the
Oh,
the Phyrexian big boy.
Yawgmoth.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yawgmoth.
I said the French name. Sorry, Yawgmoth. Yes.
Ah. Now, in Shades of Dominion, Yawgmoth is referred to as Soiros. Figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so in the Shades of Dominion, Nicol Bolas essentially wins, and Magic just spites him and says, "You know what? Fuck you. I'm turning off," and it decides to instead recede and become the Shade. And you might ask yourself, well, if the Shade is Magic being mutated, what's the real difference? The difference is that Magic is still the life force of the multiverse. It's still
Mm.
the life force of everything that is uh, living and functioning, and everything that is aware and sentient. The difference is that this time, the Shade is limited. It's finite. Whenever you go to a world, whenever you go to a realm or a plane, however you want to call it, when a Shade Mage pulls Shade from its realm, they are killing it.
Yeah.
They are extracting its life force, its ability to sustain and perpetuate life from that realm and into themselves so they can use spells. And in this way, the Shade not only maintains its own economy, it also controls the Shade Mage. That this is a barb into you as a Shade Mage. If you're using the Shade is exploiting your weaknesses, uh, your character tendencies, and essentially guiding you and telling you, look, if you wanted the power, and this is what you in power represents. Like just like when Frodo and Bilbo would put on the ring and it would turn them invisible.
Mm.
That's what the One Ring would do for Frodo and Bilbo. It didn't turn It would not have turned Gandalf invisible. It
No,
would have
no.
made him like an all powerful magus.
That's a power linked to the personality and traits of the user or the bearer.
Exactly. And so the difference with the Shade is the Shade holds you accountable to those weaknesses. It says,
Yeah,
okay,
and I've
you're
seen that almost not almost. Let me rephrase that. All aspect of the shade. I will try to not say the magic color, but
yeah.
all aspect of them have bad side, and the more you use it or rely on this power, you will turn a bad guy, even if you're white or green or whatever.
It takes you and it warps you.
Yeah,
And when you defy, and you can defy the Shade, but it'll take the price out of your hide. That's kind of the give and take of it all, is acknowledging that you are a Shade Mage and you are abusing the world that you're on, and you're essentially saying, I will take power for and to tell what the consequences, and the Shade's going, well, so much for that. You're my bitch now. You're gonna do. I'm gonna throw everything at you in such a way that if you refuse my influence, you will become you will cause yourself harm. And so that's kind of where the Shades of Dominion really takes its own route, because it's one of those systems where you don't play Shades of Dominion to play the beefy barbarian. You can, but he'll be a Shade Mage. He will be casting spells. This is a spell casting system.
Yeah, this is a magic game. And when I say magic game, it's magic. You are using magic.
Yes. And so that's kind of the ethos of the game. And the divorce from Magic the Gathering wasn't just in terms of function. It wasn't in just terms of lore. It was also uh, it was a result of the betrayal of Magic the
Yeah.
Gathering to its fans, and that's that. As soon as I've been making the system for about 10 years now, and the motivation to do so over time has obviously shifted
Mm.
because I went from wanting to create a Magic the Gathering roleplay game to a game that will eventually be able to replace and subvert Wizards of the Coast in its
Well,
entirety.
I, um, I will jump on the occasion to go to the to another question, and this is what you are talking about the betrayal. To paraphrase you, so if, even when we spoke a bit in the past, on voice chat and everything, you said pretty quickly that you were disappointed by Wizard of the Coast and the game of Magic. So
Yeah.
so am I, to be honest. Maybe on the not of the same level, but whatever. And was it the feeling that gave you the drive to create Shade of Dominion? What is the genesis story of your game and universe about the disappointment with Wizard and Magic?
When it comes to Wizards of the Coast,
Yeah,
when it comes to the company Hasbro, it started with the Jeremy Hamley and the Quartering
yeah,
when he decided to out the uh, the predators
yeah,
in the judges program for Magic the Gathering, and they ostracized him for it. They made a villain out of him for it.
yeah. And
I,
before
I
that,
looked,
it was the bit a mini drama with the cosplayer girl, Sparkle something.
yeah, that entire bizarre episode
Yeah.
where somehow being critical of the way a woman dresses was somehow indicative of actually sexually abusing her is not is unacceptable. That is not a that's not a good look with
Mm. And
Wizards of the Coast. That is not a good look.
I'm not even sure that was entirely the comment he made. I don't entirely remember what happened at the time. And as you pointed out when I started to call you, I'm a bit tired. But I think
Yeah.
he was criticizing more of the overall state of the game, the Grand Prix, the Pro Circuit, the card themselves because they changed manufacturer, the price of the game, the so different, so many product different that it was, not scamming player, but they were oversaturating the market and stuff like that. So to me, the thing with Christian Sparkle, I think that's her name, Christine Sparkle, it was one element of a bunch of comments he made, and they singled out this specific one because this was the most damaging for the reputation of Jeremy.
It has definitely been a culmination of a lot of things,
Yeah,
and one of the best YouTube channels. I'm going to shill someone else,
yeah, sure.
even though they don't know me, they don't know who I am, but I find them to be a relevant voice for the Magic the Gathering community. It's the Magic Historian, run by Mike Hatcher, and he's also
Yeah,
doing
I
the
know the
same thing
name.
today. Today, this last set, the Dominaria United set, the amount of uh, atrocious misprints. And I don't mean misprints as in, oh, there's a special dot that shouldn't be here on your card. No, no, no. We're talking about them i- completely botching the cut of the card. You will have
Mm.
cards where it's a normal card size, but the bottom is cut off, and you have another card on top of it.
Oh,
It,
like
it's it
in
is
alpha and beta.
it, it's no, it's something that should have never been released, and yet they let it
Yeah.
out in the public because they don't care. They don't care about you. They want Magic the Gathering to go from a card game to a esports arena thing,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
that.
it is I the whole point. of playing Magic the Gathering is to build a deck that wins. It's not a question of if you're going to win. The question is when you win, how are you going to win?
Mm.
That was the great fun of making a Magic deck,
That
is
was
being able
my
to.
that was the thing I loved the most in the game is creating my own deck. You know, like an artisan or so a pot maker. You know, you sculpt a deck. You find oh, I need something like that, so I will search every card that I don't know cost, especially 2 mana, this special color, and there is an instant that do this and that, and you know what I'm talking about. And for me,
Yes.
this was the crazy scientist side of the game that I was so in love with. I sometimes I spent a whole week trying to perfect a deck.
Yeah, and you would have to see. I came from the my set. The set that really got my attention was Torment. It was part of
Oh,
the second part of the
old
Odyssey
school.
block. Oh, I thought for me that was like coming in. Like I knew nothing of Urza, I knew nothing of Ice Age, I knew nothing about any of that. For me, like
Mm.
Torment was not old school. In fact, Torment, I think it was just after Torment where they got rid of mana burn.
That's possible.
Now, for people who don't remember,
Yeah,
um, before the year 2000, if you had a land tapped that you didn't use, it dealt you damage.
yeah. There was even a card that said you don't have mana burn. I don't remember
Well,
the name
and
of the card, but
well, no, no, no. There was a blue card where called like Mana Short or something like that that tapped all of your opponent's mana explicitly so it would deal damage to them.
yeah,
And mana burn was a real thing, and I I I didn't know I was old school when they did that away in the next set or two. And I actually had to build my deck around mana burn. I had Cabal coffers that would buff up the amount of swamps and
mm,
black mana that I had in my mana pool, and I had to throw in beautiful cards like Shade's Form to compensate and make sure I didn't suffer from this. Shade's Form and Pestilence are two things I had to have in my deck to make sure I had places to dump this extra mana into and spend it and deal damage or buff up a creature or something
yeah,
to so when you say that it's old school magic, for me that was
yeah, yeah.
normal. That was standard.
And I
Uh
know that there is some player of Magic that specifically and only play like the five first edition, for example. They only play
oh
like
wow.
very old stuff, like you know the very first iteration of Dark Ritual, you know, with the pentagram and stuff. The first
Okay.
print of the beta or alpha, I don't remember, but yeah, there is a very niche thing with very old school player.
Mm. Now I'm actually excited for that because that's the kind of player I want playing this role play game because you will be able to you'll be able to make a character based on these based on your deck pretty
Mm.
much. And and it's also interesting because I did a recent playlist where I went through all of the old banned racist cards in Magic the
No,
Gathering and made them into spell templates for this game so that you can,
Crusade.
yes, crusade, cleanse, stone throwing devils.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paradesh gypsies. Like, what? Why is Wizards of the Coast against the inclusion of gypsies? We'll never know. However, so you can play those.
Do you
You can play
remember?
those.
Sorry to cut you, but I think it was in Innistrad, the first Innistrad. You know the love hate story between Garruk and Liliana. And there is one card. I think it's a green enchantment, where in the art Garruk is uh, through have his hand around the throat of Liliana. And this particular drawing, I think,
Based.
I think this drawing was censored, or they said, "Oh, we are sorry, we will not do that again," or something like that. Uh,
Now I actually did something somewhat offensive. I did a tribute card to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and I found the card that I wanted, and it had all of the right spell cost, it had all of the right abilities on it, and then I changed the art on it because I just had to whitewash the card. I I did it. I'm not ashamed.
I will
And
try to
so,
find the card I'm speaking about, but continue.
but anyways, people who play Legacy, I think that's what the format is called, is these are the kinds of people who grew up in a time where making your deck represented a person, an individual, a mighty planeswalker
Yes.
who could cast these spells and uh, overcame the multiverse with this tactic, with this style, with the intent of going to other planes to find other spells and other creatures and other summons to play in the universe with.
I
And
found the card, man. I will
go ahead,
say
show
it.
it.
Oh yeah, yeah, I will show it. It's a card named Triumph of Ferocity. Uh,
Okay.
I will. 1 second, man. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine. In fact, this is something that we encourage here at Shades of Dominion is showing off cards and
Yeah, so here it
finding
is.
ways to include them. Uh, do, do, do. All right, are you showing it?
Yeah, yeah, it's on the stream, but there is a small delay.
Okay.
So I will read
Okay. So
the card. Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead, read it because it's in
Um,
French and I can't.
there is a translation on the bottom. So it's an enchantment for 3 mana, 1 green. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a
Oh,
card, and if you control the creature with the greatest power or tied for the greater power, and the lore text is get rid of this curse on me, witch, or you will die with me.
based. And
Because yeah, go ahead.
let's be honest. We all know who Liliana is. We all know her MO. We know her style. She enjoyed this moment. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't even know, but this is funny.
I'm 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 pretty sure Liliana got her rocks off on this because it's her style.
But
But no,
the for people who don't know the story of this particular moment and the set of the Innistrad, the first Innistrad. So Liliana encountered Garruk on a mission, and I think it's a mission to get the Veil, to be specific.
mhm,
And she cursed Garruk the hunter and failed to defeat her. And Liliana, like in a petty moment, because she won the fight, but still she go out of her way to curse Garruk. Like it almost like sever his connection with nature. So when he invoke a creature, a beast, it's like a mid-zombie creature, and you can see
yeah,
on Garruk that his vein, his skin. This is not the Garruk, the normal one. And it's killing him, and he like he say, I will kill this bitch. I will kill this bitch. So he goes on a double hunt to get Liliana.
yeah.
So that's the story of the card.
And this card is actually Triumph of Ferocity. I like this flavor because this is a global enchantment, and in terms of Shades of Dominion, this would turn into what is called a character aspect. This is an aspect, an ability that is not something you would cast. This would take the place of a Dungeons and Dragons feat,
Hmm.
and that's sort of how you had to rework how spells and roleplay and integrating Magic the Gathering into a roleplay setting is understanding that some of these cards aren't actual spells. Some of these cards are replacements for feats and abilities and special um, perks to your character. And that's what this is. This is a global enchantment. This is a character aspect. This is
Yeah.
something that you, as a shade mage, would invoke not as a spell, but as something you possess inherently.
And
And
to
so,
speak about the card itself, you know, Triumph of Ferocity, this is also
mhm,
a story moment, a specific moment in time.
yes,
This is what
yes,
Magic used to be.
exactly. And you know what? There's a correlation here between telling a good story and having good cards.
Yeah.
You can tell, in addition to the card quality being absolute shit, to them not caring about the product that they're selling, to them trying to go completely digital, the the meta, the
You mean
um
competitive play?
yes,
Okay.
the competitive play, the ability to make cards that function mechanically well together. They have lots of triggers that flow well. The meta of the game is suffering almost holistically in ways that shouldn't matter because they are no longer making cards that are about events, about the story, about the
Uh,
characters of the game. You can tell that they are losing creative juice and they are improperly imbalancing the game
They
by
also
lacking.
don't thank the player anymore. For example, do you remember the time when like a world champion, or I don't know the special event, they had the honor to make a card themselves. That's how we got Dark Confident, Solemn Simulacrum, and other cards
Mhm,
like that. They were made with the face of a player and stuff like that. At one point, they
interesting.
also made a card in online with all of the community in the world, and I think it was Waste Not that was created with the community. You know, the black enchantment that do more or less everything. Um, if you sacrifice a creature, something happen. If you make your opponent discard a card, something happen, and stuff like that. And I'm not in the Magic game anymore, but I'm almost certain that they don't do that kind of stuff anymore. There is no
Mm, mm.
reconnaissance and being grateful for the player who play their game.
Also, the rewards for being a grand Magic champion are not the same.
Yeah,
There was a point where they made a card of the world champion.
yeah,
That's not done anymore. Just and it's they don't care about you. They don't. The Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast do not give a shit
that's like
about the
game workshop.
players. Yeah, same unfortunate reality. Um, and so when I made Shades of Dominion, first off, these bitches cannot come at me for copyright. This is a completely unique system
Yeah,
that, though inspired, is completely separate from Magic the Gathering, and almost ingeniously, um, if this product were to take off, if Shades of Dominion were to become a household name for nerds everywhere, the great blessing is Wizards of the Coast would work for us now.
I
There's
wish.
not a damn that there is not a damn thing that Wizards of the Coast can make that this system cannot instantly appropriate. Instantly. For every set they release, I can have a supplement book completely explaining what each new card does with character aspects, global enchantments, their new additions of their any new mechanic that they wanted to throw in. It would be so easy to adapt and appropriate.
Speaking
They would
about
be working for us.
Speaking about sets and new release and stuff, do you remember which edition or set or block or even the year maybe that broke the camel back for you in Magic?
My God. Um, I thought Cascade was ridiculous.
Oh,
I was not impressed with that.
you mean Alarwa?
Alara, yes. The idea for that set is an ancient role play trope.
Mm,
Um, called it was originally done that the Alara set is was originally inspired by a setting called the Deathgate cycle, and we're actually doing the original story as a role play for the Shades of Dominion on the channel.
mm,
So the Alara set is what Wizard of the Coast took from the Deathgate cycle. And it's the idea of a plane broken into different parts. The Deathgate cycle is exactly that. It was a world where the planeswalkers, the magicians, broke it into different parts so it would be quote unquote more efficient, and they would teach the evil planeswalkers what they did wrong. Um, that's that's actually part of our mythos,
mm.
ironically. Um, but yeah, Cascade was ridiculous. The I don't I understand. I don't. The meta for Cascade for me just didn't clash well. Um, so Cascade I didn't like. Um, I did not like ninjutsu. I did not like Kamigawa.
Mm.
They
Kamigawa, that was one of the lowest point of Magic. They lost a lot of player in
yeah.
Kamigawa.
Well, and it's because they did some funky thing where they'd split the spells into arcane or
Mm.
spirit, or it was
They
just
were they were trying something and they failed with particular panache.
yeah. I mean, you could have easily Magic has already had an assassin theme, a ninja theme, and I'm not against the concept of ninjutsu. I just don't think it was handled all that well. And um when you got to tournaments, when you got to play the game and you had to encounter things like Cascade, things like ninjutsu, um it either you were being destroyed by someone whose deck had no soul, because there was this extremely meta version of Magic the Gathering with a mechanic you'd never heard of,
Mm.
um, or it was it almost felt like there was an inside track that was meant to subvert the average player. Does that make sense?
Um, in a small part, you have to explain a bit more. It's a bit abstract.
Okay. In order to make a deck that was good and competitive,
Mm.
you would had to have had
In Kamigawa,
a yeah, in Kamigawa,
yeah.
and not so much in Alara, but definitely in Kamigawa.
Mm.
To make a good competitive deck, you would need to have had some foreknowledge and pulling together all that was uh, available to you to make a deck that was good. As compared to before in other sets, you could try to take what was available to you and make something that was uh, more common, whether it was a mill deck, whether it was a big creature deck, whether it was a discard deck or a control deck or a burn deck. You had certain categories.
Mm.
But when it came to ninjutsu specific decks or cascade specific decks, the amount of knowledge these were not people buying packs at the local game store.
You mean
These were
that
people.
it was more. It was an initiate thing. A newbie could not enter the game and play ninjutsu faithfully. You need to be an old school player. That's what you're saying?
No, no, and not even old school. That was kind of the travesty of it all. It didn't matter if you were old school or new school.
Hmm.
What it meant was you had to be someone with a specific knowledge of how it was the steepest of steepest learning curves. And it didn't matter if you were old or new.
Okay.
If you wanted to understand this mechanic, it was whether or not you had the advantage of knowing exactly. Okay, let me let. Do you play chess?
Yes.
Okay, remember the asshole who used en passant?
Yes.
That guy.
Yes.
And it would be such an obscure,
I know
rare thing.
I understand more what you mean, like especially if you play with a newbie and you do in French we say prise en passant, and
Mhm.
the newbie say, oh, I didn't know if we could do that. Ah, tough for
Yeah.
you.
The but the crime about Magic the Gathering is it wasn't just the newbies. It was even the experienced players who'd never understood um, what this thing is or how it worked. Um, and yeah, when you add a new mechanic to a game like Magic the Gathering does and should, um, there's going to be a learning curve. But to have a learning curve that's that steep and that specific and that kind of um, mechanically, um, yes, ban Ardent for being an en passant asshole. The, it, it's okay in chess. It's not okay in Magic. It's not okay to pull that kind of dynamic in Magic the Gathering. There shouldn't be that kind of a learning curve in the card game because and the reason is money. The reason
Yes.
is money. You can't have a hey, let's pull these cards randomly out of a pack and see what we can play with and see what works in my deck. Let's see what I can trade with my friends at the store. To make these decks with the learning curve that was being required, that's the moment it becomes pay to play. Immediately. That is exactly what it means. And that's how you know that the quality is going down. And to be
Well,
there were
it was
ways.
not so much of a problem. Well, it was a problem, but it was not so much of a enormous problem like today in the time because the game were much cheaper back in the days. Now you
Yeah,
have cards like even some regular card, for example Talmoglyph, with I don't know how much now, is maybe 2,000, 3,000, 200, sorry, 200 or 300 a piece. So yeah, the price of the game became it's 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 an obstacle to enjoy the game.
yeah. And so that was the kind of point in terms of Magic quality as a franchise where I decided, this needs to be something else. But there was definitely a social pseudo political aspect of it with and that was the bigger component. The the Jeremy Hambley quartering aspect of it was far larger.
Mm.
And to be honest, the subversion with the meta and the card quality, that all of that was just gradual creep. Um, but no, the reason Shades is its own thing is because it can no longer. It wouldn't do the setting justice to have it strictly attached to Magic the Gathering. This has to be its own thing because what we're doing is we're telling we're telling the fans of the game, look, your deck should be a player again. Your deck should be your experience should be something where you have a particular style. You have your own and this is what's great about the Shades of Dominion is I desire for the players to um min-max the game. Like if you go into Shades of Dominion, you say, I'm going to try and break the system. The system was made to try and become broken. That's part of why it's there. If you're going to try and be the best at whatever it is, that's what it's there for. In fact, the system is unique in that it, through shade afflictions, through shade afflictions, through the shade trying to ensnare itself in you. If you did sincerely try to min max your character, what's going to happen is the system is going to bully you through min maxing into roleplay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this one makes more sense to me. You have fun with the system.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the
Because
system that's stopping you from enjoying it.
yes, and what happens is we talked about global enchantments. We talked about the character aspects of the player, these special feats that they get for being infused with the shade. Those come with shade afflictions that are not mechanical; they're role play.
Both.
So
Both.
yes, so the consequences of breaking the shade affliction are mechanical, but the limitations themselves are all role play
Mm.
based on what your character chooses to do or not do. For example, Ardent, who's in chat, is a purity mage who's specialized in a few light and order spells, and one of his shade afflictions is you must tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah, I've seen a few bits of this kind of stuff. Um, not curse or punishment or stuff like that, but malice that not force you, but make you play in a certain way, in the role playing aspect.
I'm sorry, please repeat that thought
The
again.
the thing you said the player have to role play and say only the truth with Ardent. I've seen
Yes,
that in your rule book because I've read a bit, and I've seen that there is a few malice to the player that encourage him and make his character uh, role play in a certain way.
yes,
Like I think it's a black mage, a black shade. Sorry, man. That if he goes into a transaction like commerce or thing, he has to try at least once to scam the other party. Something
yes,
like that.
yeah. If there's a blue mage where their first strike in combat has to come from behind. These are things that helps you role play. It gives you ideas to actually formulate who your character is, but it also creates conflict within the party because you have all of these shade afflictions interplaying with one another,
Hmm.
and it gets to a point where there was a problem where a there was a problem where I apologize if you heard that,
I
where
didn't.
good, there was a problem where they were in combat, and the corruption shade mage, the black shade mage, has a shade affliction where he cannot permit any survivors.
Oh yeah,
None.
I think I've seen that one.
Meanwhile, Ardent, our purity mage, could not allow the helpless to be undefended. He had to defend the weak and the
How do
and
you
the
do in such situation? Because the whole team will be torn apart, like break, like they cannot play anymore.
Well, that's the thing is, if they want to play, they have to work it out.
Okay.
And the way that it's worked out is someone has to take the fall. Someone has to violate their shade affliction or have their shade affliction taken out on them eventually. And that's what happened. Um, the survivors escaped, and the black mage had to suffer his shade burn. And that's it. And that's another thing that harkens back to the old game
Mm.
that the old legacy player is going to enjoy because mana burn is back. It's back in a new form, but it's in a form that you're going to be able to enjoy, to appreciate, and be like, "Hey, I'm playing what I love again."
The damage is on the stack again.
Yes,
Like
yes,
the fucking goblin, I don't remember the name. He is a 1/1 you can sacrifice to do 1 damage. So you can do 1 damage in combat and 1 damage in sacrifice.
yes, yes, absolutely. I forgot what that card is. Is that a
Yeah,
newer one?
no, it's a very old one and it was a very powerful card back in the day because with the damage on stack. It's a 1/1 goblin for 1 red. Basic
No,
goblin.
uh, did it have haste?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I thought I'd remember one with haste, but
Yeah, it's
I think that
the 2/2 with haste that make the opponent draw land.
ah
Goblin Guide. Yeah, Mog Fanatic, thank you.
Mog Fanatic. Okay, nice, very nice.
A very old card. Speaking about card and you know how do you play the game with the role playing aspect that is heavily encouraged with corruption you spoke about. We are going to speak a bit about the law of your universe or omniverse as you call it in the book. Do you already wrote something like storybook or specific scenario, like special rule book for mythical monster or god or other worlds in you said omniverse? Because you mentioned them a bit at the end for the monster, and you mentioned
Mhm.
the starting pitch with the war of magic, but there is not much more in the rule book.
And that's intentional.
Okay.
When I released the original PDF of the Shades of Dominion, it's called a core set
Yeah.
because it is the basic core of the game. There's there's not a lot given on the other realms and all of the other worlds other than a brief synopsis of their power level, what they do, the functions that they serve, how they get by, because each of these realms is a potential expansion. They're a future supplement set, and so um, that's very much a um, that's very much intentional. Like it's left open because we do need uh, that creative growth. So with each of these different realms will not only be its own unique history, there will be spells that are specifically found in these realms. There are going to be specific monsters and summons that are going to be found in these realms. There are going to be character aspects that you can find and develop in these realms. Uh, Special perks that you can pick up for yourself in these realms, artifacts, powerful uh, objects that will be able to increase your ability to cast the shade. Because that's one of the mechanics that's actually built in is when you make a shade mage, whenever you uh, develop your character and you say what kind of spells you want to cast, what kind of dominions you're going to specialize in, um, one of the uh, one of the stats is called a shade capacity,
Mm-hmm.
where this determines how much shade your spells can contain, and you will have to expand that shade capacity to cast larger spells. So your shade mage will have to adventure to these realms to find these objects to gain more power, to learn more spells, to see what else is out there in the world. And that's another aspect of the game that is in line with Magic the Gathering. There is no experience point system, level up system in Shades of Dominion.
Yeah, but I have a question. Is you are a game master. You pick up
Yes.
your PDF. How to make a scenario or a game if you don't know much about the setting?
How to make a game if you don't know much about the setting. I that to me is a kind of like a first world problem in gaming. Um, I don't understand how you could want to sit down with players and enjoy going through a module. Um, maybe that's just my role play bigotry when it comes
Maybe I
to
don't know.
it. No, in sincerity, the best games you will ever play are the ones where you're not picking up Curse of Strahd. You're not going through the Fandelver's mine. You are going through your own thing. Um, now there is in the rule book a way to. I'm sorry, I have alarms going off on my
No
phone.
worries.
So, but no, there are ways in the rule book to have a and there are certain things that you do need from the setting to kind of make it work. The first thing is the realm shade track, where you have to keep track of the amount of shade in the realm. That's another aspect of it, and that's actually given in the descriptions of the realms. It
Yeah,
tells you what their shade level is, and it's and every time that a player siphons from the world, it subtracts uh, from the world as a shade vessel. Outside of that, uh, you can really throw anything you want at your players, and it's fantastic. And what we're doing with the Shades of Dominion roleplay system is I'm going in real time and showing people how to convert creature cards from the Magic the Gathering game and converting them into NPCs and adversaries against the Shade Mages.
okay.
Uh, and that's our donation system. Is by rarity.
But
People
what you
can
mean is, sorry to cut you again, but you give the liberty of the player and the game master to invent anything they want. If they want to battle angry cloud that piss toxic
yeah
rain on the player, knock yourself out. That's what you're trying to say?
yeah. If you want to fight an army of goblins, go for it. If you want to fight a castle full of vampires, go for it.
Okay.
If you want to conquer dinosaur world, have at it. And there are NPC stat blocks in the rule book.
Yeah, at the end
We
there.
don't you don't have to make everything out of whole cloth. You don't
Okay.
need magic cards for everything to interact with the game. There are in-game pre-mades for that. Um, but when it comes to power level, when it comes to the experience in the game of making um, like a campaign or like a supplement book, that's in the future. If you understand my meaning,
Yeah, 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 of
that's
course, of course.
definitely coming. It's definitely coming. We're just not there quite yet.
Yeah, and I know that
Um,
you said a few times when we spoke that you had I don't want to put words in your mouth, but things cost money, and it's not always
yeah,
easy to produce without a stream of revenue.
correct. And and that's one of the big struggles is getting enough exposure, getting enough people aware of the product, because right now, the Shades of Dominion, as we've introduced at the beginning, my original channel with
Yeah.
600 500 odd subscribers was just yeeted.
Yep.
This game
Without
was
warning, if I may add.
uh there were strikes, but no warnings. There was
Yeah, but what I mean is, it was like out of the blue. You didn't receive a mail like, be cautious. You have infringed, blah blah blah. It was like one day the channel is there, the next day it's over.
well, it was one day the channel's there, you have a strike, and then, oh, we found another strike, like 20 minutes later, your channel's gone.
Yeah,
And it's from a video from like 5 years ago.
yeah.
So
You can't
yeah,
do anything.
there's nothing you can do. If they want you gone, you're going to be gone.
Yeah.
So in addition to having the channel yeeted, this game was originally hosted on Drive-Thru RPG,
Yeah, you spoke about that also.
and that was taken down. The link that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I sent people to try and buy the game. They couldn't. So now we are reduced to having to use a direct link
Yeah.
to a Cash App account where you send me $15, I send you a PDF.
Yeah. That's
That is a payment.
that's really something I hate. That it's like you can't even try to play the game. And what I mean by trying to play the game is making your business, starting off from scratch, trying to grow a bit. It's like, no, you don't even have this opportunity and this luxury.
No,
So you can't. No fun allowed.
exactly. If you are not in line with, and 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 I know the reason why. The reason why is because I spoke out supporting the old school D&D players, TSR, the Dungeon Hobby Lobby, and the museum where Gary Gygax and his sons first started making D&D. And they did an anti-woke disclaimer, where they basically said, you know what, we might include things that are going to piss you off, but that doesn't mean we're racist anyway. We just want to play this game that we know and love. And it was in response to me supporting them that my own product got taken off of Drive-Thru RPG. And it's just, and I'm just going to put a word out for other ways you can do this. We also have the recent debacle with people getting taken off YouTube for speaking out against people trying to sell drugs to children. I'm just going to leave it as vague as that,
Mm.
in case whether you're aware of it or not. But there was
I'm not,
an
but I'm not surprised. So it's another day on the internet.
indeed. But anyways, this website is hosted by Cloudflare, who buckled and allowed this website to be taken down by DDoS attacks.
Mm.
And so my message to all of you is, and in addition to this, we have the whole PayPal thing,
Yeah.
where they can now fine you for having the wrong opinion, essentially.
Yes.
So I'm just going to let you all know there's going to be a Shades of Dominion website with payment processing, and that will be done through a domain registrar company called Epic.com. And Epic.com is the domain registrar and hoster for Gab, which is why I trust them.
Mm.
And if I can get a payment processor set up, I will not be using PayPal or Visa or MasterCard. I will be using Gab Pay. That will be the way in which you can submit transactions to purchase the game, because I cannot afford to trust anyone else. I cannot afford to trust anyone else who is going to potentially leave me open to being taken offline again.
Yeah, and
It's just not reasonable.
speaking about that, it's not off topic. Do you remember at the end of the Jeremy quartering, the ban of Magic the Gathering? He had, I think it was on MTGO, you know, the old software to play online with Magic. Uh,
Yes.
he had his whole collection there. I think it was, he said something like $2,000, $3,000. So it was significant, and he, he was not refunded, so he lost everything on the spot and can't do anything about it. So
You know, and
it's exactly the same as you said now, because I think it was Arch Warhammer who spoke about some people who did like Kickstarter or campaign like that, and they were paid, or not they were paid, but they put the money on PayPal, and PayPal closed their account, and
yeah,
they lost everything. And there were like 20 people or 30 people like that. And sometimes we speak about like $200,000, something like that. It was crazy. So I definitely understand why you are so um, vigilant about your payment processing.
and it's a damn shame that we have to get into politics to secure basic economics.
Yes.
You don't fuck with people's money. I mean, if free speech is a big enough issue, but if I have to, for basic economic transactions, if I have to become a political extremist for that basic, what else do I need to say? I'm going to side with those who um, promote, who allow me to survive. That's
Yes.
who I have to side with.
I
And
had the same argument in the book sphere, because many people in literature say, I hate Amazon, I boycott Amazon. Fair enough. But then, how do you do with people like me and many other writers who have only Amazon to print and publish their own book? It's like
yeah,
either I go with Amazon, who is kind enough to have a system that allow me to do something. I know it's not perfect, and there is problem and ecology and blah 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 blah. But if I don't go to Amazon, I can't do anything. I don't. I stop everything. So what choice do I have? It's exactly as you said.
yeah, and it's also it's still a sort of Damocles. Amazon, not a lot of trust there either.
Mm.
But at least they're not. How do I put this? I don't know if it's because you're not on the radar, or if again, I know that we're all doing what we have to do, but I wouldn't trust Amazon any more than I would PayPal. However, in your defense, there is no bigger publisher. And it's not something. And when we talk about publishing, we're talking about reach. We're talking about exposure. There's
Also, there is no other printer for book that is in my
correct,
price range. Because if
correct.
the only other alternative I have, at least to my knowledge, is to go to a regular printer, and I have a better price for pop, but I have to give like 1,000 euros, and only then I have like 600 books, for example. I cannot do that. I don't have that kind of money on hand.
Yeah. And but speaking on this subject, I've actually tried to get Shades published on Amazon, and it's not because Amazon doesn't want it. It's because I can't seem to get the formatting of a role play book
Yeah,
set up for that. And if you have anyone who can assist me with that, then I will
I
gladly.
I personally can. I
Oh, okay.
I will not assure that I will solve your problem, but at least I think I can guide you and tell you I think this is the where it fuck up. I think
Okay.
I can yeah, give you some information.
Okay. Well, then after the show, we'll talk shop.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
will do my best with my my fatigue.
yeah. No. We'll take it another day.
Yeah,
There's no rush. Um. However, but again, thank you for the advice in the future.
no problem.
So that's been my struggle with Amazon is getting a role play book with all the charts and all of the margins and everything, so that it's all flush with
Yeah, the layout.
their their layout formatting is it's been a pain, and it's been something that I've had trouble troubleshooting. So that assistance would be greatly appreciated. Um, were there any other questions you had for me in particular about the system?
Well, originally, basically, the question was about the law, the universe, the fluff, and my question was about the information about the law, you know how does your omniverse look? What kind of monster? What kind of god? What kind of what is, for
Oh,
example, the mode of transportation? What is the architecture? You know, some description, some stuff like that.
okay.
It's pretty thin in your rule book.
Okay, it is thin, and that's again because we're looking at making supplements. We're
Yeah.
looking at including a
So
whole.
to
Um,
reiterate again, you have project in the box to make some other
yes,
side book about the universe and the story of the universe itself.
yes, and there are brief descriptions about some of the other realms in the Shades of Dominion. Uh, if you're into Vampire the Masquerade, there is a
Yes.
realm of Nod for the vampires.
I am a
There's
game
a
master of Hunter the Reckoning, if you know the game.
which one?
Enter the Reckoning. It's a side
Ah,
game of Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf, but it's on the side of the human. So it's like a co-op of the supernatural.
got it,
And I, I
got it. So
very I very much enjoyed this setting.
I'm also a fan of the World of Darkness
Yeah.
universe. That's very fun. Um, I actually need to update that collection, but I'd
Yeah,
not now.
White Wolf is the same as Wizard of the Coast or yeah, or the
I'm
company like that.
I'm sorry, but if you're gonna sit at a table to play vampires, the last thing I want to see is a consent sheet. j- they're vampires. Why are we having a discussion about consent
Yeah,
of the vampire game?
especially if you play the what is the clan, the Nosferatu, something like that. You know the ghoulish monster vampire. I don't remember the name of the clan, but
Yeah, that's Nosferatu, but
yeah,
the Toreadors are worse.
I'm no expert to be honest. I just love the concept of the Nosferatu clan.
Okay.
The
I'm a when it comes to vampire clans, I'm a filthy gypsy. I love the Ravnos.
But the thing with the Nosferatu is they are exiled even in their own kin. That opens so many doors for storytelling. So many doors. Especially if you go into the legendary monster of Vampire the Masquerade. There was one in the Nosferatu clan that I think was the master and conquer the whole Russia sphere of the world, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the name of said character, but she had to be put down by like one of the firstborn and stuff like that, and was a whole conflict. I think it was in the Tsar period in the history.
Yeah, it was that was Vampire's version of Baba Yaga,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
I think
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, she was Baba Yaga was the badass. So
And she was the
Ardent
Nosfera
Party,
too.
yeah, Ardent Party going with the Assamites, you filthy diabolizing creatures. Anyways, so yes, Shades of Dominion does have a lot of lore potential. It goes through very briefly
Mm,
some of the worlds you can play in, but mainly those are going to be points of expansion for
mm.
not just myself, but if fans want to create their own stories in these
Yeah,
realms that are
that's what I proposed you earlier. I can, if I, because I would need to play the game at least one or twice, you know, one or two games with you. And if you have a
okay.
place for me at your table, we can arrange that. And yes, I can write some little fan fiction stuff, you know, 5, 10 pages on Word with my not so perfect English, so sorry in advance. But yeah, I can write a bit of fan fiction.
Look, I will gladly write you some French shade afflictions for the game.
I'm Belgium, not French.
I
Please.
apologize. That was horribly offensive. How dare I call you a Frenchman? There will be no more shade afflictions that will require you to surrender. So now I think that's about where we're at with the lore because I really needed to focus on the base concept of the game.
Yeah.
I really needed to get the core mechanics done.
And I think I can jump on another question because I feel where you are going with your speech now, and you said you had to build a base. So this base you constructed took you years. And what was the
Yes.
cost and what is the cost of creating your project or your many project? I mean, even with the help of your family, which is quite sizable, and friends and trying to cut every cost, for example, you don't have art piece in your PDF. You don't have a book
No.
cover. Uh, but if you want to do that, it costs some money. But outside of money, there must be some time cost as well. Since you have a family, you are the father of your own household. You don't have much free time on your hand. So explain us a bit about how the creation process took place for your setting.
Low as hell.
Yeah.
And that's the honest truth.
Because on the
When
start of your book, you said you thanked your wife and some close friend that play tested for hours at a time.
yes. And not only playtesting, you have to understand the entire thrust of Shades of Dominion right now is from my fans. I have a handful of people who know of this game, who have played this game, who constantly bug me about this game. I'm not, and I owe it to them to work on it because they're the ones paying. They're paying for art to be made for the game. All of the art pieces that you've made are either made by fans or art that has been purchased from fans for me.
Mm.
I'm not an artist. I'm just I'm a writer. I'm tech writing and role play games.
I'm the same situation, man. When people see all the art, I like, yeah, but I didn't do that. That's my work,
Yeah,
my writing, but I didn't draw anything.
and it's extremely humbling
Yes.
because you see these people who read what you have created and they want more of it. And uh, I love my gatekeepers. I also chastise my gatekeepers. Not for gatekeeping, but because I have to gatekeep from my gatekeepers. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I do.
unfortunately, because gatekeeping, as I said in Alden, let me start again. As I said to Alden in the chat at the beginning of the interview, gatekeep always, but
Always.
Unfortunately, I have to say a but. You can't do gatekeeping like you can't do gatekeeping badly, because if you do that badly, you're even better off not gatekeeping, because your game and your community will have like it will become an echo chamber like in any other place. You have to be
Hmm.
open to new people and be vigilant that the people that come into your community are interested in the thing your community is based on. So if you are not welcoming, polite, this is not the way to do that.
Yeah, and I like my gatekeepers because they understand what Shades of Dominion is supposed to be,
Yeah.
and they're rather aware as to what Shades of Dominion is not going to be. And sometimes I have to let them know what Shades of Dominion is not supposed to be. I'll give you an example. There was a notion put forth by one of the early
Do you
playtesters
have
that
a Discord or place you gather?
yes. Let me
Yeah,
get that link and put it in
yeah.
chat for you.
Uh, uh,
Um,
yeah. I will make you a moderator so you can post link.
oh, awesome,
Yeah.
fantastic,
You have the magic blue wrench.
yay! All right, let
Excuse
me.
me a second. I will chastise one of my regular in French. Je ne serai jamais français, Monsieur Pierre, jamais, jamais. Voilà. A bit of a friendly conflict between French and Belgians.
So I see you are also gatekeeping amongst your fandoms.
No, it's a joke. Because
So
are you aware of the conflict between Norwegian and Swedish?
I am actually intimately aware with that because I am Swedish and I do watch Arch Warhammer.
Okay. And this is the
And
same with France and Belgium.
ah,
More or less the same.
I, I so it is just a silly pissing contest then.
Well, French tend to be sometimes a bit of an asshole, but yeah, most of the time it's just pissing contests. Sometimes they can be cruel. I'm sure Mr. Bier will agree with me. And sometimes Belgium tend to try to defend themselves a bit too roughly. Oh, I lost your camera. You
That
back?
was intentional.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the sometimes French or Belgian can be a bit too rough in the play, but yeah, most of the time it's a friendly banter. Most of
N-
the time,
Now I
not always,
now
but
I'm hearing heresy in chat. Ardent has said that it's not unlike Canadian/USA rivalry. Hard disagree, Ardent. The Americans will always be innately superior to Canadians. This is not a pissing contest. This is supremacy. Get your ass over here where you belong.
yeah, we are trans Texan.
Exactly. Brought to you by Bang.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cheers, man.
Uh,
But yeah, I think it's me, Alden, Bezek, and one other guy. I don't remember the name. Trim. Yeah, we are all
Trim.
trans Texan. We identify as
Yes.
a rich Texan.
Well, here I give Bezek shit because he is a dirty Aussie who lost to the emus, and I will never I will n- I'll never I'll never let him live that down. I know low key that Australia is the land of the land where everything is going to kill you.
Yeah.
But if you lose a war against flightless birds, I'm gonna rub that in your face.
Yeah, but
That
5 seconds seriously, emus are fucking scary creature. And they have like even a worse version, that's the cassowary. They are scary monster. By the way, you are friend with Sasquatch?
Yes,
Okay.
Caucasian Sasquatch is a fantastic gentleman.
Because I see you write and say thing Sasquatch, but to be honest, I don't understand shit what you are saying. I think
Oh no,
it's
when
mostly
he talks,
private joke. I think.
no, when he talks about America's hat, he's talking about Canada.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that I don't have that reference.
Well, it's Canada's right on top of America, therefore it is America's hat.
Okay. Uh,
Something.
silly nation and country.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, continue your story about the creation cost of your project that you have. You do mostly by your fans and your friends and family.
And it's, as I said, it's an extremely slow process. It, it took it took a very um, arduous process to be able to understand. Okay, we're taking Magic the Gathering, put it into a role play game, accommodating things like card drawing, um, things like plus one, um, discarding, exile, all of these effects, all of these abilities, and reinterpreting them into a role play setting, into a role play tabletop game where you represent a character instead of a deck. It, it it was slowly piece by piece pulling everything together. Um, and it was very very intense. Being able to try and make this a comprehensive system that was true to its original source. Um, so, for example, when it comes to card drawing, when it comes to memorizing your spells or having certain spells available versus having them cast, uh, there was a necessary thing we had to do called spell battery. And spell battery is a stat on your spells where you would as a half action you have an opportunity to make a spell battery roll to recharge a spell on your in your library list. Little things like that, figuring out all of these problems, making sure that it's not just a game,
Mm.
it's an experience, and you have to make a system
Well,
that
that's the
replicates.
source of every RPG game. For example, you speak about spell battery and having to more or less regenerate your spell, and you have some limitation. It's like the Dungeon and Dragon. You have like X amount of spells per day.
Yeah, and I knew that I could not replicate Magic the Gathering using a spells per day system used in Dungeons and Dragons. You can't do that. That's not a good mechanic for what we're trying to build. If you're trying to build a game where all the character does is magic, limiting them per day is not a practical a practical way to do that. So you have to go back and say, okay, how is this going to look? How is this going to mechanically play into how we're going to give the experience to this player that they are this all powerful mage? And uh, simple things that would take forever. Okay, here's something I had to do in development that is going to that it's going to make everyone's brains itch and give it some soothing sensation at the same time because we're all autistic. I had
At
to.
least I am.
I had to go through the entire Gatherer collection, filter my searches for aura spells, uh, instance sorceries, and um, and the effects of these different categories, and I had to figure out how much power a specific card or ability should have for a 1 mana cost spell.
Oh yeah, you mean like the scale. I don't remember the name. But
I
for example, in Magic, the basic creature cost was 3 mana for a 2/3. That was the basic scale of every quality versus cost creature. Something like that.
basically.
Yeah,
And I had to, and I did not use that standard. I
yeah.
went and rediscovered it on my own
Mm,
for creature spells, for instants, for sorceries, and not only that, I had taken the 5 different colors, the black, the blue, the white, the red, and the green, and I broke them up into 3 distinct parts based on what those colors did. In green, you have growth, which is make monster bigger.
mm,
You had instinct, which is make monster faster. You had nature, which was give you more mana, give you more shade, and turn off enchantments. All of these 3 different categories. And I had to isolate those categories. I had to use keywords to look for specific spells. And I had to discover for each of those 15 categories for instant sorceries, aura spells, and creature spells, what was the most I could get out of 1 mana for a common card. It was ridiculous the amount of autism I had to have
yeah, yeah.
to
That's
isolate
the
all
passion.
those, yeah, to all of these specific categories, and to get the most power for 1 shade, for 1 mana cost for each of those categories. That took time. And then
Yes.
not only isolating those, but then discovering, okay, now that I have these, how am I going to translate them?
And this is also, sorry to interrupt again, but this is Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, your game, Chains of Dominion. This is for nerds. This is for geeks. This is not
Yes.
for everyone. This is a game of passion that require a small amount of autism, of interest, of dedication. You have to be interested in doing this. This is not something you can do like, oh, I will play a 15 or 30-minute session. No. Role playing game, even the very first one back in the day, this was made by 5 reject, for example, and
Yes.
that took sometimes 24 hours a game session.
Well, and let me hop on that. When Gary Gygax made Dungeons and Dragons, it was from the perspective of hyper autistic realism because they were um, war reenactors. And so they would actually nerd out figuring out the stats for uh, stupid shit
Yeah,
just to make sure that they were giving you the most authentic probability for X event happening when
yeah.
you rolled dice to do a certain thing. They did it from the position of being war reenactors for actual battles
And
that
even
that
more
that
than
occurred in
that,
history.
these guys, or at least the friend circle of these creators of the Dungeons and Dragons and other enthusiasts of the game, they created Magic the Gathering to play something during the break of a Dungeon and Dragon game. They were full on
Yes,
autistic.
and that's what I love about what I'm doing now. I told you about the playlist where
Yeah,
we took all the banned racist cards and made spell templates. This next playlist that I'm going to be doing is called Legends Refitted. And Legends was a set where fans of Magic the Gathering played the game not only to play in between sessions, but they wanted to make cards based on the NPCs and characters they made at the tabletop.
also, yes.
And the great thing about these cards is, well, no, let me reject that. the horrible thing about these cards is you can tell that from the mana cost that these were characters with lore, with background, with
Yeah,
abilities, but it was not reflected on the card because you just couldn't insert these abilities into a card game. So they just left the mana cost to represent these abilities and these like are obscenely high mana cost.
yeah,
But you
yeah.
only get like a 4/4 or a 6/5, 7 mana cost 6/5. Doesn't have trample, doesn't have flying, doesn't have first strike, none of that.
Yeah.
It's just 7 mana 6/5. Why? Because he was a badass character we met in a role play game playing Dungeons and Dragons. And what I'm doing with Legends Refitted is going through each of these shitty cards.
Do
And
you remember the famous or infamous Dakon Blackblade?
I do. He's actually the next one on my list.
So, sorry people to interrupt, but this is what he's speaking about. This is very old cards that were shit, but the drawing is exquisite for the time, and even to this day they are still amazingly beautiful. But the card is unplayable because it's bad. But as he said, this
Mhm.
is like 7 mana, 3 color creature that represent. I'm assuming a story of D&D session.
Dakon Blackblade was one of the first successful transitions.
Yeah.
His card is actually not that terrible
Yeah,
compared to
not
the first one
that.
I did.
Yeah.
The first one I did, Barktooth Warbeard,
Uh,
terrible card. But Dakon Blackblade was somewhat more redeemable. His power and toughness was equal to the lands in play. Um, and he costs 7, so he's at least going to be a 7/7, hopefully. But again, the cost and the abilities and the effect on the board was just not nearly as high as it should have been. And that's what Legends Refitted the playlist is going to go over, is giving these old legends, these rare cards, their true dignity in a tabletop setting.
mm.
And
Hello,
that's
Rosa. Nice to see you.
hello.
So, someone I interviewed in the past, and we chit chat sometime. Very nice to see you. Yes. Sorry, Shed. But Rosa, I'm interviewing Chain Master, who created his own role playing game, inspired by Magic the Gathering and the very old D&D spirit, so to speak. So it's nice to see you there, Rosa.
In addition to Sasquatch being completely baffled, this is a story of being able to restore these cards into a role play setting again. So these cards are getting a facelift. And go back and watch the Barktooth Warbeard video I uploaded this morning, and it's beautiful what we're able to do with Warbeard. And it's that's the kind of spirit we're bringing back. That is the point of my autism, the point of my passion, the point of being able to turn or to have this immense project is to make it easier for those in the future to make their own spell templates, to upload their own NPCs, and to do it within a system that is uh it's going to maintain itself. It won't be corrupted by power creep. If is what I'm trying to say. It's a reliable conversion system to role play Magic the Gathering cards into a tabletop scenario, and
Well,
that's partially why it's
this was a problem in Magic the Gathering for many years, the power creep.
yes, and I think I've solved it. I really did my best to prevent power
Mm.
creep, because one of the ways that they were trying to compensate for power creep is rarity.
Yeah,
and
but
in
it
the
just
modern
increased the cost only. That's only what
exactly,
achieves.
which made it more pay to play.
Yeah.
So what I did is I made another filter, another mechanism called the law of common. When you play a card or convert a card, you have to accommodate for the rarity. If it's an uncommon, it's the common you have to put it through a multiplier. So a rare a card that costs 1 that's a rare card is going to cost 4 mana instead of 1. So there is this
Okay.
multiplier when
Yeah.
it comes. So yeah, and if you did the same thing, a 1 mana mythic spell is going to cost you 6, which means a Shade Mage at creation cannot cast a level 1 mythic spell
Yeah.
because, power level means something. So that's kind of how that is the level of care that this game was given. And that's why it took so damn long.
Yeah, and speaking
Because I
about that, can you give us a bit of number? Like you say, it took so damn long. It's like, what, 10 years, 5 years?
10 years. 10
10
years. We're
years.
going on 10 years.
Yeah. One PDF per 10 years for decade.
But it wasn't just the contents of the PDF. It was, how do I get here? How,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
do
yeah.
I
I know.
how do you make it make sense? And that's been a huge and that's been a huge part of this process, is you have to make it make sense. And we succeeded.
Well,
That that that,
congratulations.
that that's a that's the triumph of this. And because we've succeeded, we need to spread the word. We need to let the fans know that they can have their fandom
Did
back.
you did
They
you
can.
post the link of the Discord on the?
I did.
Oh, it's because I think I lost it.
Hang on.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
Maybe you posted before I gave you the wrench, and so it didn't pass through. Give you in DM, and I will post it myself.
Okay. Let me send it to you on Discord.
Yes,
Give me 1 second.
because you speak a lot about the fans, the community, and stuff, and myself, I struggle to maintain a community and fans, and it always amazed me that people can gather people around and do stuff, and have people involved with what they are doing, and especially people like Rosa or yourself. You on each person level, because Rosa is like a goddamn diva, but you succeed to gather people around yourself, and you have a sense, yeah, of community. I know this is kind of obvious, but I struggle so much to do that.
Well, I'm gonna hopefully make you feel a little better, because I have lately I've been doing horrible at that, because again, I have personal issues. I've had employment issues.
Yeah,
I have a family I need to take care of. So we
and
have.
4 kids.
Yes, so that my community has been put on the back burner, and I get a lot of love and support from them. In that regard, they are very understanding. They 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 know who I am. They know what my priorities are. So that's not so much a negative. It's just, I have to be honest. Lately, my community has taken a back seat out of
Yeah.
unfortunate necessity. And I just need to thank them and thank you profusely for being patient, being kind, and being available for when I finally get my shit together. But it doesn't change what the necessity for that community. Um,
Did you give me the link in Discord?
I did in Discord, absolutely.
I
Um,
didn't receive shit, man.
oh, I lied. I sent it to the wrong place. I lied to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Liar.
I was a horrible liar.
So this is the
Oh,
Discord of Shared Master, and you can join and enjoy the community of nice role playing people. I will discover this place myself, so I didn't know you had one, but when you spoke about it, I said, okay, this man has a Discord and stuff like that. So yeah. Um. So I will jump into another topic that I'm sure you will have much and much to talk about. Uh, since
oh,
you speak about your family life, the kids, the wife, the work, and so on and forth, and you had your old channel yeeted and nuked from orbit by the mighty Susan, uh, and you are yourself a political person and a religious person. And in your the first page or the second page of the book, you say that the game is to glorify God. Because if I'm correct, you are Mormon, right?
yes, I am in fact a Latter-day Saint.
Okay. Um,
I do advocate for the Mormon Caliphate.
okay. And personally, myself, I try as much as possible to not insert my own belief and politic in my work, either side of the argument, and whatever the reason or the object or the topic. So, what's your take on that? Because if I may play the devil advocate, how is it different in your book that you do that to glorify God, that the
Hmm.
other side of the fence with the cancer culture and the social justice warrior and stuff?
Oh, that's I love that question. I genuinely do. And it's why I've chosen some of the iconography for the different dominions of the shade. You'll notice that the iconography is Nordic.
Uh,
You'll
um,
find that
I spotted a few, but I'm no expert on symbols.
okay. The symbols for working from the top, Aether is the web of weird. It is kind of like their magic weave concept from D&D.
Mhm.
The second is the corruption symbol, which is Jorgander, the world serpent. The third is destruction dominion with it, which is a runic symbol of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, however you pronounce that word. Uh,
Trim.
the fourth, yeah, Trim, chastise me. Now, there's also the purity, which is the a grayed out black sun. Now, this is the more controversial
Oh
one
yeah, Black Sun. I
because
know that.
the black sun is the proud symbol of Ukrainian resistance. You see, I'll let you figure that one out for what that one represents.
Mm.
And then there's the Vitality Dominion, which is yes, Purity Sigil is best sigil from Ardent Party. Then there's the Vitality Dominion, which is the World Tree, Yggdrasil.
Yeah,
Now, I chose these symbols, obviously not because of my religious persuasion.
yeah.
Um, I chose these as open, open advertising, open endorsement of the alleged white supremacist corner of the internet.
Okay.
The people who are maligned, people who are hated on. And here's why. In the entire course of this culture war, I have never once heard a alleged
Mm.
white supremacist ever complain about Mace Windu being black.
Amongst many other example you could have said.
Amongst many of the other examples.
Yeah. For example,
And
Alden Paddy is a very fun person, and myself too, of the character Blade
yes,
or Spawn.
I love both of those characters.
Same.
Those are fantastic characters. I've never heard of this side of the internet giving a damn or caring about the skin color or wanting to change a property for its intellectual content based on race or color or any of the thing. However, what these people do have in common is whatever that property is, they fight like hell to keep it what it is. You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah. This was a very. You said you watch Archwarm. He
Hmm.
prophesies and explain in so much autistic details how Warhammer would fall, and he was 100% correct.
And my position as an artist is I'm going to side with the people who are going to maintain and preserve my art.
Yep.
So when it comes to politics, and that's who I give my loyalty to. That's who I'm going to entertain. That's who I'm going to promote. That's whose values I'm going to reflect. There should be no controversy here. That's called self-preservation. I'm entitled to it.
Mm.
Um, Ironically enough, regardless of what anyone else thinks. So when it comes to culture, when it comes to religion, when it comes to quote unquote virtue signaling, um, to say that I'm virtue signaling because I made this book to glorify God, yeah, because the people who glorify God and appreciate that sentiment are going to preserve me.
Mm. You spoke to your audience
Yes,
with this, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, there are some people who maybe don't believe in God, but I know other people like you, like Ardent Party, who, when they recognize that this is a religious person with staunch values, who wants the world to be a better place, they're going to look at that and go, "My team."
Yeah, and we spoke a bit about that. You didn't watch the Ardent interview?
I'm sorry. I did. I watched 30 minutes of it. I
Okay.
didn't get too
Yeah,
deep into that.
no worries. But we spoke quite at length about religion and the value of the craft, because as I'm sure you're aware, and I learned even more than I imagined in the interview, woodworking is quite important in religion, building church, building shrine. I pointed out the Loreto staircase in New Mexico, a stairs made of wood without any metal that technically is not supposed to be still standing. But through a feat of genius, yeah, it's still there and functional. And we spoke about uh, prized possession like personal heirloom and stuff. And I'm not religious. I'm agnostic, so there is a room for I don't know, but I have also
Yeah,
another room for this is bullshit. But
definitely, definitely.
never. Well, I can give you my opinion, for example, about your faith, but my opinion will not. How to say that? I will never say to other folks how to live their life, and I will never um, impose my belief on other people. Even if I think that your way of living is utterly stupid and bonkers, you do you. Be happy, my friend. That's all I wish. And also, if possible, do not convert me without my consent. Do not bother me. There is all of the place on the world you want to be. Leave me alone. But yeah, I have respect for other folks' way of thinking, because and feelings and belief and whatever the fuck you want, because thinking is not the only facet of life. Sometimes we think that, but no, there is other things than just thinking. And doing a games like you did is something to respect.
That's a lot to unpack. I'll, but first off, in terms of how do you say, respecting, tolerating one another in that respect, or having opinions about how people live their lives, uh, my faith has not. My faith has informed some level of the tolerance that I permit,
Mm-hmm.
because the first Latter Day Prophet had a quote where they they were fascinated because we started in New York, we were persecuted to Illinois, to Missouri, and then all the way out to Utah, to the Salt Lake Valley.
You may have to educate me because I don't know much about Mormon, unfortunately.
Okay. We're a religion that sprung out from what they call the Second Great Awakening. And what essentially happened, just to give you an
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
idea, is we were literally run out of every town that we settled in, for many reasons. Um, One was the practice of polygamy, and the second was living in a southern state while being rabidly anti-slavery. Um,
And this is during the early days of America, like the first colonists.
yeah, no, we're talking about like 1812,
Okay.
not 1776, so about 50 years later. And so the Latter-day Saints were driven from city to city, town to town, and but remarkably, they were incredibly united, incredibly civil, and incredibly potent as a force whenever they wherever they arrived. And the prophet of the time was asked, "How do you maintain order?
Mm,
How do you maintain civility?" And he simply answered, "Well, I teach them correct principles, and they govern themselves."
mm,
That was his only word on the issue. And when it comes to things like religious liberty, when it comes to the diversity of opinions, we are extremely um, not just tolerant, but empathetic when it comes to other points of view, because we do claim to have the gospel,
mm.
but the idea is everyone's going to have a piece of it. Uh, I am I am forced to address Caucasian Sasquatch, who is asking me about my underwear, which is awesome. And Mormons cannot use drug, which includes alcohol, coffee, and tea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't. It's just addiction of any kind is just frowned upon for your spiritual health. It's
In almost every religion, by the way.
yeah. That's it. Should be a duh.
Mm,
It should be one of those. Even though they did drink in the ancient times, being a drunkard was still frowned upon.
mm.
It's this is not something that's new. So da, da, da. I don't know what else there is to really say on that, because it's the Latter Day Saint faith is very um, we send missionaries out to teach about the gospel, but there's never been an actual militarized effort to enforce the gospel, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's more of an educational effort than
And
it is a military one.
it strongly remind me what I said to you before we were going to be live. I love South Park, and I'm sure you know that South Park like to take jabs at everything and everyone, and Mormon are one of them. Did you watch the few episodes they did about the Mormons?
I actually have insider knowledge on that,
Okay.
and you're gonna want to hang on to your seat here. Mm, Trey Stone and Matt Park, I believe, are the creators of South Park,
Yes.
and
Yeah, I know they
they,
knew Mormons quite deeply.
yeah, they're our friends.
Mm.
They
Okay.
are the definition of controlled opposition. I need you to understand that. Like they are the peak example of controlled opposition when it comes to quote unquote mocking the Mormons.
Mm.
Uh, the end of the episode is a
Yeah,
Mormon,
yeah,
a
yeah.
Mormon father getting on his literal on his own soapbox saying, "I live my life and I'm happy, and if that's too weird for you,
Yeah,
fuck you."
that
Like
was
that
the
that's
yeah, yeah, that was the message of the episode because during the whole episode they mocked the faith.
yeah.
If you please don't be offended by what I said. And yes, when I watched the episode and I read a very few things about Mormon, I said, yeah, this is bonkers. But nonetheless, it was just a sketch, an humor, and you do you, whatever. But the end of the episode, it's the family of Stan with Randy March and stuff that want to become Mormons, but at the end of the episode they say, "But this is stupid. This is yeah, we go away and stuff." And the little Mormon kid that went to the school with the guys, you know, Cartman, Kyle, etc. Um, he said, "Well, I know you're stupid and you are Mormon, idiot, but you can hang out with us even if you are not Mormon anymore." And the kids say, "Yeah, no, you guys are dicks. I prefer to be left alone with my family."
Pretty much. But there's
This is a nice wholesome thing. It's not, you know, it's not like they desecrate, you know, the opposition, as you said.
yeah, and it's also funny because if there's another episode where everyone dies and goes to hell,
Yeah, the correct answer is Mormon.
the Mormons. And it's funny because even when they did the play, the Book of Mormon musical or Broadway thing, y- you have to understand, I've never watched it. I will never watch it. It's not going to offend me because that shit wasn't made for me.
Yeah.
I know who made it, and I know why they made it because when they put advertisements in the playbill, they get to choose who gets to put advertisements in that playbill. And one of the advertisement slots went to the Mormon church to say, okay, you watched the play, now read the book. And missionaries lined the Broadway sidewalk every time it was going on. I'm telling you, Matt Stone and Trey Parker are fucking controlled opposition, and they're on my team. Go ahead, laugh.
Yeah, and
I love it.
I'm not sure how to correctly interpret the control position as my first language is French. So when you mean controller position, it's like they are not believer and whatever, but they are not like enemy. What do you mean by controller position?
What I mean by controlled opposition is they are pretending to be opposed. They're making content that's supposed to be interpreted as anti Latter day Saint. But all they're doing is giving us free press.
Yeah,
And
okay.
they know that's what's going to happen.
And also, if I may, they don't care. They just want to make jokes.
Yeah. Oh, and
I the one of the first few things they did together, they were at school, and you know they had to do like team homework, and Trey and Ray went together and said, "Do you want to make fart jokes? Yeah, go." That's the whole shtick. They just want to make jokes and have fun, and they don't care about the message and let me start again. The message. This is just a cartoon one, just to make jokes.
Sorry, come again?
Yeah, I just said that the whole shtick of Trey and the creator of South Park is just to make jokes. They don't they
Pretty
don't they
much.
don't care about the message and stuff, and
Okay. I'm actually out of time.
okay.
So I know you had a ton of questions. Would you mind doing a part 2 later?
We can. I have, to be honest, three more question. But we can make another, like an edition of the video, and because the question I have, I think I can make into a team, condensation of subject. But yeah, sure, no problem. When I
All
saw
right.
that you watched outside of the screen, I said, maybe Miss Shade is not happy.
Exactly what happened.
Okay. Well, say to her that I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Thank you very much for having me on. This
Yeah,
has been
no problem.
fantastic. But I do have little children, and they
Yes,
do need attention. And
yes.
as I said, we have chickens, we have outdoors. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks again, man, and sorry to overextend. So, this was not planned, but I will stay a bit with you. Just a second. Because I don't want to finish like this is over, get everyone out. But yeah, I will do something with Shared Master to finish up the interview, because I had a few more questions for him, and even the question about his faith and politics and stuff. I could have dig a bit more into that, and yeah, I enjoyed this interview, and I definitely want to continue it, and go to the conclusion of the exchange I have. I don't like the idea of having to be short on time and say, "Well, this was your turn. Problems on you. Go away." No, that's not my shtick, and I definitely think that. This is why I wanted to ask the question about the politics and the religion, is because we can definitely understand that the guy is passionate about his faith and his belief, but nonetheless, he just want to make a game. And to me, this is the most important, because regarding his game, he just wants you to enjoy it, no matter your faith, no matter your political leaning. At least that's what I interpret. So yeah, I will have a part two. And yes, Arden, I may be I may be like you said. Yeah, last night you said, yeah, I have to smoke. Bye. And you went away, and I think I bug you a bit too much of your time, and I'm sorry again. But anyways, folks, I will make a part two. I will arrange that with my dear shared friend. And sorry for cutting short like that. I didn't know that it was so short on time. I should have be a bit more prepared. Anyways, thank you for coming to the interview, and thank you very much for your interest in what my guests have made, the what he said, what the game is about, and everything. And I will talk to you later. Take care, internet. Mwah.